Another year has come to an end, so it's time for our favorite videos of the year, the yearly rankings. Today I'll be discussing my top 10 shows of the year. Just to let you know, I saw 29 new shows this year, and also make sure to leave your own list down below. Leave your top 10 shows of the year, leave your top 5, leave your top 3. Really interested to see your taste, if we have different tastes, if we have the same taste. But let's get right into it with number 10. Just creeping into this list is going to be The Boys Season 4. There seemed to be a lot of obnoxious hate for The Boys this season, which is kind of weird only because the show really never changed that much this season. I guess the people that the writers were making fun of finally found out after 4 seasons, which is kind of funny. Those people that they're getting made fun of, now they're finally finding out. Now there's so much hate on Twitter for it, but I guess I wasn't on Twitter for like a lot of the other seasons. But I thought that this 4th season was really great, even though it did have, some issues in there. A lot of people had issues with it. I don't know where I'd rank this on the 4 season runs. I don't think it's the worst. I think I think one season might still be below it, but they're all pretty equal in my opinion. But I still do like, season 3 the most. I think that is the strongest season, but I still enjoyed this 4th season a lot. And I want to get the negatives out of the way. And this is kind of a positive and negative at the same time. That's about Frenchie. His arc this season was kind of rough because he was with that guy, and that was very hard to watch. I was like, what are we doing here? It's just a weird kind of development for him. And then finally at the end of the season, he got with Kamiko, which is what they've been teasing for a long time. And I actually forgive him for that because that's, the relationship that I wanted. That's the best relationship in the show. When they were friends, when they're now together, this is the best. Their conversations always have so much heart, and I really, it turned a huge negative character on that season to a huge positive for me, so I'll give him that. But I will say the writers are not helping Annie slash Starlight out because she continues to be a hard character to defend. A lot of people hate her. I'm, kind of mixed on her. I think she does a lot of good stuff, but she just really tears down Huey a lot. I don't know why he really sticks with her. The writers are making it, kind of hard for us to like her, but I will say the writers are doing such a fantastic job in characters like Homelander and Butcher. Homelander gets better and better every season because Anthony Starr's performance is just so good. He deserves an Emmy, at least an Emmy nomination. I don't know if you'll ever get one because he's getting Critic Choice nominations, but this performance is just amazing. I think this is his best season, especially in the solo episode that looked at his past. He had to deal with all that trauma. That was a fantastic, episode from him. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that this season has some of the grossest and most insane moments in the whole entire show. Some of them, like Vault on Ice, was really funny, even though it was kind of gross, and I felt bad for the people just getting shot on the ice. I thought that was really funny because you always imagine, the ice skating shows. What would happen if someone's ice skate just went through another person's leg or onto their face? What would happen there? And we do see it. And then there's the deep giving Sage a lobotomy, which was, that was sickening to me. When it first happened, I was like, are we really doing this? What are we doing here? But it was weird, man. I guess that's what Sage does. And then Huey in the tech cave was the freakiest moment in the whole entire show for me. Maybe freakier than Herogasm. And I don't know, but also the writers must hate Huey because in this season, he dealt with a lot of things he dealt with, man. He was going through the ringer, but I'm hopefully next season he gets to take a break. But also next season will be insane. The last episode of this season was legendary. We got Butcher going full villain, full diabolical with that thing taking over his brain, the cancer and all that. Now he has these tentacles coming out of him. Yeah, he's turning into a true menace. I know they're not going to follow the comics, all the way to the end, but maybe a little bit. But I'm really excited to see how messed up next season will be, how Butcher's going to be, Homelander, all those people, the boys, what that group's going to be like. But seeing, the villain Butcher next season will truly be diabolical. Next up, we have the Day of the Jackal, and since this show just finished, I'm going to stay in a non-spoiler territory for you all because, I almost didn't even watch this show, and you probably, look past it, and it's only on Peacock, so a lot of people don't even have that. But I was like, let's just give this first episode a try, and after that, I was hooked and never looked back. So I really do recommend you go check out this show after you watch this video. It is really good. All the episodes are now out to binge. There's 10 of them. They are some really good hour-long episodes. And Eddie Redmayne, I've always thought he's been an underrated actor in my eyes. Yeah, I know he has an Oscar and all that, but I still think he's very underrated. I don't think a lot of people talk about him just like 2 years ago, I think he was in that Doctor movie with Jessica Chastain, giving another legendary performance. And I love him. I've loved him ever since, Fantastic Beasts. That's basically what got canceled. I'm happy he, got back into this big role. He's in another big role. I wish that Fantastic Beasts kept going because he was really the life along those two movies. I think those two movies had those issues, but he just gave such a great and compelling performance in those. And he is really badass in this show because he is like a sniper for hire and all that. That's kind of his role here. He wears disguises. No one knows what he's doing. He's just trying to, kill some people for money. The, FBI and all that is trying to find him. And he is very good at his job in this show. There's a scene, at the beginning, I think it was at the beginning of episode 1, where he's in the building and he builds a sniper out of his suitcase materials. Like, that's where he's hiding it, so he got it through the airport with that. And I was like, this is some crazy stuff. And then he hits a sniper shot from over 2 miles away. Now, I know that would never happen in real life, probably. I probably would never. But it is really cool because in the show, it's like it takes the bullet like 7 seconds to travel, that many miles. So he has to really line it up. And there's little scenes where he has a silencer and he has to test out the range and, adjust it without anyone knowing that he's shooting at something. So he shoots at like the concrete building. It's really cool how they did everything in the show. And there's a lot of cool other shootout sequences too, where he's running from the cops and all that. Lashana Lynch actually plays one of the main, cop people. And she is a standout character, I would say, even though I did hate her character because she's trying to hunt down and kill Eddie Redmayne's character. And I will say a little bit of fault to this show. It's not perfect. When it's not focused on Eddie Redmayne's character and it's focused on like the business side, other people, the assassins, other people and all that, it can feel a little dull and a little worn out. But I did think it is still, an entertaining thriller through and through with fun surprises, fun shootouts, crazy chase sequences. I'm really excited for season 2 because it just got greenlit. This is a really entertaining show. Number 8 is going to be Dawn to Dawn. This is the second anime that I decided to watch, and that's mostly because I saw the intro on YouTube and I was like, this is one of the best intros that I've ever seen. The song is really good, really catchy. The animation on the intro is crazy. The first anime I decided to ever watch was Chainsaw Man. That show changed my life. I binge watched that show in like one night. It was so good. And Dawn to Dawn isn't as good as Chainsaw Man, which I don't think, any show will beat my first ever anime, except maybe Attack on Titan when I do decide to watch that, because I am interested in watching other animes and all that, like Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer. I will get to all those, but Dawn to Dawn was the second one that I chose to watch. And fair warning, if you're not familiar with this show, it is filled with some very weird and silly things. And one of those things is aliens wanting to take humans' genitals and private parts away. But at its heart, it's a fun anime with a decent amount of romance that I really enjoyed. Even though it's really not at the center of the show. I really think that animes I've heard struggle with romance, and a lot of anime creators don't like to include romance. But I like a little bit of romance in my shows, and I felt like this had some decent romantic aspects. And I heard like the creator of the show had to like watch or read up on like romance stories to get ready for it. And it is a really well written show, a really nice romantic scenes in there, as I said. And the animation, man, is just top notch through and through. I couldn't really find a fault if there was one. I wanted to, but the fight scenes the fight scenes are brilliant, which are usually the most important parts of the anime, but they're so detailed and fluid alongside the articulate character designs. Like, the character designs are really cool. Every character is, very different here. And, some animes struggle with, in the background, not a lot is really moving because, the budget, but I felt like this one had a lot moving through the scenes, not a lot of still moments here. It also has one of my favorite episodes of a show this year, which was episode 7, which I won't get into too much because the show also just finished, but that caused some heavy emotional damage. I love Ken and Momo. I really think they are just a great couple together, even though they probably won't get together for like a long time, because I heard in the manga, yeah, they're still not together, and the manga is pretty far ahead. Like, I wanted to get the manga, but it's all sold out. The first like 3 volumes have been sold out since the show has started, so I'm gonna have to wait a long time. Ira, so far, she gets on my nerves, but I think that's the point. I think that she's pretty cool. Those are my 3 favorites, and I think that this show is just getting more and more popular. I didn't know how popular the manga was before starting it, but I guess it is really popular. but I hope it only gets better from here because visually it is amazing, but the story and the heart and the romance is just what makes it so special for me. Surprisingly, we have something on this list that is from the DC universe, and I can't believe that this is only the second project in the Matt Reeves Batman universe. But, I'm just angry that Matt Reeves is taking so long for the second Batman movie. It's going to be like 4 years by the time the sequel comes out, like 4.5. It's way too long. I just want it now. Please just give me it now, Matt Reeves. But back to the Penguin. It's my seventh favorite show of the year. This is a true comic book TV show mixed with Sopranos and all that. And it was fantastic. I really enjoyed my time with this. Colin Farrell as Oz has officially landed in one of my favorite comic book castings of all time, alongside, the great Heath Ledger, Robert Downey Jr., because he nails it, and he really disappears in this role and makeup work. Like, the prosthetics and makeup done on him was great. They did change a little bit of it, because if you compare his look in this to the Batman movie, I think a little bit of it was changed, maybe simplified, so we didn't have to sit in the makeup chair that long, but it still looked great. You still can't really see him, and he disguises his voice. It really is great. Just like, another show that we'll talk about later, this is Event Television. I tuned in every week. The second a new episode came out, the true HBO way. I really wanted to compare this with House of the Dragon, but when I was thinking about it, I was like, do I think House of the Dragon belongs on this list just because it's an HBO show? I'm going to say no. I still enjoyed season 2, but I think that the better HBO show this year was The Penguin. And I got to say, I hope they give Kristen Milioti an Emmy for her episode that she spent in Arkham, because what a tremendous performance that was in that single episode, man. I love TV shows that give characters like their own moments to shine, especially a flashback episode, which is really important for the story here. And Colin Farrell, I think, or hopefully, is locking up an Emmy for himself, especially for the finale, where he turned into the true Penguin. We are going to get into spoilers. It finished like a month or two ago. So if you don't want to see it, please click off. But, we'll never forgive him for killing Victor, man. That was a scene that made me angry. And I know they had to do it because you like Oz to the show, and he never really did anything for you to really hate him. But now he did. He did this thing that we're going to hate him for the rest of the time. And we're like, we kind of want Oz to die. We want the Penguin to die now. This is true villain territory now. He's the true villain. He just killed him for like no reason. Well, he gave it like a bullshit reason, but there's no reason to kill Victor, man. He was so loved. None of us expected it to happen. I don't think anyone did. I expected Victor to die, but I didn't expect Oz to kill him. That was crazy. And then the bat signal sees the end was nice. It was a very nice touch, but I don't think that they maybe should have added it, because we still have to wait like over a year and a half until the Batman Part 2, so it's a very long wait. But I'm interested to see how much Oz will fit into the next Batman film. I love the Penguin, so hopefully we get a lot of him. Next up, we got Presumed Innocent, which is surprising to me because it's an Apple TV Plus show. And I'm only saying surprising because Apple has some great shows on their streaming service, but no one watches them. I just don't think that no one ever watches them. I think I'm the only one, because their marketing is really lackluster. Like, they don't market their shows. But in my opinion, I think Apple TV Plus is one of the best streaming services for your buck. They have a lot of great shows, as I said. I think it is still, pretty cheap. I think it's like below $10. Maybe it's $10 now, but when I signed up, it was like 8 or something. But I wasn't really familiar with the Presumed Innocent book or movie with the same name. But since you had Jake Gyllenhaal and it's a courtroom drama, I was like, sign me up. I'm ready to take this journey. And holy moly, what a ride of a show it was. Had some huge surprises that I wasn't expecting, and the ending that I won't spoil because this is a great show, but it unfolds perfectly. I'm such a fiend for courtroom dramas. Like, if you give me like a 5-minute sequence or a 10-minute sequence in a single movie of a courtroom, I'll be like, okay, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I loved it. But yeah, courtroom dramas are really fun, especially if they're written pretty well. This one is written pretty well. I did like it. It does have some faults in, some of the earlier episodes where it takes a little bit of time to get into those, but once we truly get into the story, it starts unfolding really nicely, as I said. But Jake Gyllenhaal, man, he delivers one of his best performances to date. Really hope he gets some award recognition, but it's Peter Sarsgaard who has a lot of scenes where he just steals the show. And heck, even the kids of Jake Gyllenhaal in this show, his character's kids in this show were great. And we're getting a second season, but sadly not with the same characters, which means that Jake Gyllenhaal will not be coming back. I kind of get what they're doing. They're kind of like pulling a True Detective kind of thing here. They're doing like different characters and stories, but this first season of the Jake Gyllenhaal Presumed Innocent it ended kind of nicely, but it does end with a little bit of a cliffhanger, and I really want to see where the story went after that. But I will say I still loved his season. Let's keep it going with our Apple TV Plus shows, because next on our list, right in the middle, is going to be Shrinking Season 2. And I gotta say, I was one of the first. I was one of the first fans of this show when it came out, and I'm proud because this second season, I think personally, is so much better than the first. And I already thought that the first season was great. I think this is a must watch if you like comedy with, equal amounts of sadness, because there's a lot of sad moments in here, a lot of happy moments, a lot of funny moments. This season was really funny. And if you like Ted Lasso, I think that this will be your kind of show. And I know this might be a hot take, but I think that this show at this point is better than Ted Lasso. And I say at this point because we still like I think it got renewed for season 3 and 4, maybe just season 3. But Ted Lasso I enjoyed a lot. I think the first 2 seasons are strong, but it took a big drop off, especially in that last season. So I'm just enjoying Shrinking right now. I don't think it's dropped off so far. Maybe it will in the coming seasons. But with these first 2 seasons, this is one of the strongest shows of the year and better than Ted Lasso in my eyes. But I will say, I wish that Gabby and Jimmy would have worked out and stayed together as like a couple. I thought they were going to become a couple after what they had in season 1, but I guess not. I just liked how they spent more time together, and I thought that them as characters were better when they were with each other. Now Gabby without Jimmy is not as entertaining, I would say, but Jimmy is still entertaining because Jason Segel is a really underrated and impressive actor. He was really famous in the early 2000s, 2010s, in those movies. He did a lot of movie roles. He's not really in movies that much because he's doing this, TV shows and all that. But I'm just a big fan of Jason Segel. And I think Harrison Ford here is the funniest that he'll ever be in his career. I mean, he must really love doing this show because I've never seen him this funny in my life. And it looks like he's putting no effort into it, but he is still pretty funny. But Michael Urie and Lukita Maxwell also deliver great performances, deserve a lot of praise. They were one of the strongest parts of this season for me. There's a lot of big surprises in this season, a lot of big emotional moments in this season that I wasn't expecting. This is just shaping out to be one of my new comfort shows from now on. Just makes me so happy and sad too, but hey, that's the point. Coming in 4th place is Fallout, and that is something I was mildly familiar with. The games, the games I played just a little bit. I played the mobile Fallout Shelter game a lot. I mean, an unhealthy amount in school when I shouldn't have, but I really enjoyed that game. And Fallout 4, I played on my Xbox, some of Fallout 76, but that game wasn't really that great. But, Fallout's coming in number 4th, so I guess Fallout 4 kind of makes sense, but the Fallout show was gas. Like, holy man, that show is really good. I remember binging it like in one day before I went to go see the movie Civil War and like Challengers. I think that was around the time it came out. But it was really fun to binge this show. I really want to binge it again. It's a great show. But like at this point in my rankings, these are like the shows that I loved a lot, and I'd probably rate them all like 9 or higher. So this is just really close to the top 3. I have a lot of respect for this show, and props have to be given to the show for its costume and set design, because it feels just like you're looking at the game. The vaults and all that. The vault suits look great. They looked exactly like the one from the game, and the VFX work also was quite impressive. The budget that they spent on this you can really see it on screen. It looks great. Ella Purnell, is having herself a huge year because she had this, she was brilliant, and I loved her character. I loved how her character had an extreme arc of being, extremely happy in the vault. Then she gets out of the vault and has to go on this crazy journey that she wasn't expecting. And then Ella Purnell also has Arcane, which we'll get to soon. A little spoiler for the list, but we'll get to it. And then Yellow Jackets, which just came back this year, but I haven't seen it. I know a lot of people love it, and I'll watch it someday. And then she has Sweet Pea, which is kind of crazy. She's doing a lot. She's taken over the world, it seems like. Then you have Walton Goggins as the Ghoul, which isn't something I didn't know I needed this character in my life, but I thought he was a badass man. And Aaron Moten was really cool in the Power Armor, and an actor that I'm not familiar with, but now I'm like, this is a really cool guy. And I loved Aaron Moten and Ella Purnell's characters. I loved how they kind of had a great relationship. Their chemistry was great. The power armor, getting back to that, that was a great practical suit. Like, how cool must that have been to, sit in that suit on set? Even though it's probably really hot, but, it's like a functional power armor suit. Like, oh my goodness. I wish I was there on set just to touch it, just a little bit, man. But then we had the cliffhanger, teasing New Vegas. I think at least they were teasing New Vegas at the end, which is really sick for hardcore fans. But I only know a little bit about the New Vegas game. I never played it. But I hope that Lucy and Maximus reunite in the end because they're two of my favorite characters in the show. Entering the top 3, we have X-Men 97. And I'm a young person, so I can admit that I've never seen the original X-Men 97 show that this one is a sequel to. They're kind of following it with the story and all that. But oh my god, holy crap, this show blew me away. And I can admit, I'm not a huge X-Men fan. When I entered this show, I was like, I'll just try it. I'll try the first 2 episodes. I don't really like the X-Men. Probably because the X-Men movies from Fox have soured my taste on the X-Men characters. Never read any of the comics, but I might like the X-Men more than the Avengers at this point after watching this show. Some of them here are bad ass. Like, oh my. I thought each and every episode was great, but man, some of these episodes felt life-changing in a way, and just, what was it, like 28-minute run times that they had. Like episode 5 with Gambit, what an episode, man. One of my favorite episodes of the whole entire year. Animation is just taking over, as I said, and we'll get to another animated show soon. But he, Gambit became one of my favorite characters just from that episode. He was struggling through the season, and his death really hit me hard. I thought that was one of the saddest moments in the show. Then you have the 3-part finale, which was shocking week after week. I was kind of thinking, I was like, maybe they should have released all 3 at once. But now I'm remembering it, and I'm like, wow, it was nice to sit with those, each part after week. And then you had some very fun cameos. You had like a Spider-Man cameo, Black Panther cameo in there, a Daredevil cameo. That was really cool to see the cameos of the Avengers. Then you have the 3 separate cliffhangers in the end with the X-Men split up, Apocalypse, Gambit coming back as like Death or something. It's going to be crazy. And I don't know how they're going to top it with season 2, but it does have all the ingredients to be topped. The animation and fight scenes overall deserve all the praise because everything was so well realized that here, the X-Men powers have never been this good. I don't think when we get the X-Men live action again, I don't think they're going to look this good. And I think that this is just on its own. I love how every character got their time to shine, with some of them getting their own episodes, but we still kept our main focus on the plotline. My favorite X-Men after watching this show has to be Cyclops, probably Gambit, and then actually Magneto, because Magneto had a lot of great character development, especially with Charles here. What a great show. Coming into that number 2 spot is going to be Arcane Season 2, and sadly, Arcane has come to an end, partially because the main story is over, but we might still get some spin-off stories, which I do hope we get. But this main show, man, I've loved it since season 1, which was 3 years ago. But man, it's been a journey, and please Netflix, give us season 3, because I know the second season ended, the story ended, but this was just a masterpiece through and through for me. I know some of it complained about the fast pacing of the show and the episodes. And yes, maybe I think it needed one more episode to breathe just a little bit better. But I still loved it. I can take that. I can take the pacing for granted. And I just don't really care at that point. And I can understand where they're coming from there. But I thought that since we're at war in this season, like war is happening, a lot of fights are happening, it's going to be fast paced. So I was just like, let's just get used to it. And I felt like each act got better and better and better. The first act, you focused on Vi and Jinx. They're still fighting and all that. The top side's still fighting with the underground. And then act 2, you focus on more of the emotional moments with the family. Vander coming back, Isha dying. What a sad death that was. They each got different moments. And then act 3, you had the finale. This is the final act of the show. So you went to full out war with everyone coming together to take down Mbessa. So each act kind of had their own different story, just like in season 1. But season 1 felt a little bit more focused on the main story, while this season, each act felt a little more focused on themselves, which I thought was interesting. We complained about the 3-year wait, but in my opinion, I think it's well worth it just for that stunning animation. I don't think I've seen a show animated this well, in my lifetime. And I still will say that Arcane is still my favorite animated show of all time after season 1, after season 2. I really wish it could have went on for longer, but what can you do? It goes to show how great it is, but it is also kind of crazy how we had 2 animated shows in my top 3 this year. I never would have guessed that, but animation is just real art. You know, you can never get rid of it. It is just so great. And I do want to spend some of our time discussing the characters, because that's one of the most important parts of the show. Not just the story, but the characters, man. The characters have such a big emotional impact on this show and what they give to us. Jinx has always been my favorite since the first season. I loved her arc, and I loved it even more here, especially by the end, where she, finally came around to the good side. But I think it's Echo, man, who is the new MVP this season, and also Jace. Jace was a really great MVP. And don't even get me started on people thinking that Jinx is dead, because there's literal proof in the last episode that shows she's still alive. She left on like that ship and all that. But, her entrance in the last episode with Echo was sick. But I wish we still got more of their conversations and prep time together, because I felt like we were missing a little bit of that. But I still loved their relationship. But I really did feel bad for Jace, because, he lost his true friend, Victor, to the Arcane. And in the alternate reality, he had to like fight his way back. And, the Victor in that reality kind of brought him back and said to stop me from doing this ever again. And people thought that Jace was in the wrong for coming back and just smashing this one person, saying like, I'm coming to kill you, Victor, and doing all that. But I knew Jace was on a mission. I knew he was doing it for the right bro. And I was like, this bro's doing it. And I was right. Jace was doing it for the greater good. And Echo, as I said, was the MVP for me. Bro had the time bomb, just went back 4 seconds. If we didn't have Echo, this show would be over. The world would be ending. Bro saved the world. He did everything. I love on TikTok, we're seeing all the edits with Echo. They're really cool. I love those a lot. But man, it was really sad with this character too, because he ended up in the alternate reality after we didn't see him for a whole act. He was missing for a whole act 2. Then he came back Act 3 with a vengeance. He's like, this is my show. I'm taking over. But yeah, Act 3, he was in the alternate reality where he got to see his true love, which is, Jinx, but it's Powder in that universe. And it's so sad. He came back and he had to leave. He had to go save his true universe. And, in that true universe, he doesn't get his true love. It is really sad, but I love the storytelling here. They're messing with us emotionally. The soundtrack was once again great. Arcane is just storytelling at its finest. Coming in at number 1, without a doubt, the best show of the year to me is Shogun. And this is what we call true event television, and that's something we've been missing since Succession ended, since Game of Thrones ended. I said The Penguin is event television, but I didn't say it was true. Shogun is true. A lot of people were just discussing this show when it first came out. I'm a huge fan of like the Japanese culture, architecture, like the samurai stuff. So I went into this show not really knowing a lot. I saw the first trailer and I'm like, oh, Japanese stuff, samurai stuff, swords and all that. I'm like, ooh, sign me up. Let me watch this. And after watching the first season, and it's confirmed we are getting more seasons, when it ended, I went to my local Barnes & Noble. I bought the first Shogun book to hold me over. I haven't started yet, but I do want to start soon, because I heard it's a little different. And then I kind of want to watch the original and see how that one is. And I'm not the only one who loved this show, because it actually did break the amount of record for the most Emmys won, which is crazy, because it won for a lot of craft categories, one for acting, one for best drama, one for some directing. And I ultimately think that it's one of the best television, seasons of all time. It might even be my favorite television season of all time. If it stayed as a limited show, I think it'd be up there as one of the best limited shows, like up there with Chernobyl. This is HBO level stuff. This might even be better than HBO. I was just really impressed that we're getting a show like this from Hulu, man. This came out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh my God. And, I'll tell you how much I love this. I got my wisdom teeth removed. And then the day I got my wisdom teeth removed was the day we had a new Shogun episode drop at night. And I was like in pain. I was like, this really hurts, but I'm staying up for that new Shogun episode. And that episode actually ended up being probably the most heartbreaking episode. So I was sitting there, tears flowing down my face, and my mouth was really hurting. I couldn't talk. I was just like dying there. But it was a really fun moment. Each episode I just stayed up to watch them. It was great. Each episode, they felt so important, was so much being done. And by the end of the season, it was sad to say goodbye to some of these characters, because some of them you're not ever going to see again. Since even though we're getting another season, you won't see all these all these old characters again, man. It was really sad, getting kind of emotional talking about right now, but I felt like each character had their own tones, had their own, levels of development, but they all developed so greatly, in my opinion, especially our boy John Blackthorne. John Blackthorne was great. From the start, he washed up on this island of Japan, and he was a total ass to everyone because he didn't respect anyone. He didn't respect the ways of the Japanese culture and religion. But then by the end, he respected. It's that time where they took him in, and then he learned their ways, and he learned to live with them, learned to respect their culture, and I thought that was really sweet. Anna Sawai and Kiriko Sanada both had their own moments where they just took your breath away. Them together was some of the best performances of the year, in my opinion. I'm also happy that both of them got Emmys for their performances, especially Anna Sawai as Mariko, because her journey, that character's journey to her death was devastating, man. Throughout the whole show, her Mariko and John Blackthorne's chemistry was great, and it was sad to see that they couldn't end up together. They couldn't have their life together because all the things that were happening behind the scenes. It's like a very political show too. The old style political stuff. The seppuku, I think that's how you call it when they had to, suicide in front and like cut their own stomachs and all that. There's one devastating moment of that I was not expecting, but I don't want to just praise the acting because I said the storytelling in this was on point. You never felt confused by the culture and all that. You never felt behind with the show. They really kept you along the ride. And it's also the artistry of the show that took full control, took your breath away. You felt you were kind of instantly transported back to this time in Japan with this amazing architecture. The costumes are beautiful. Each different costume was great. I loved seeing the interviews, especially with Anna Sawai and Hiriko Sanada, which he's one of the producers. Anna Sawai was talking so much about how she had to walk in these different costumes, how they all served a different meaning. So interesting to learn about all that. I really did like that. And I haven't been, this moved or moved emotionally or surprised by a show in a long time. And I've only seen it once so far. I haven't gone back to it since I finished it because it is like, it will make you go on an emotional journey, emotional wreck. But I do want to go back to it many more times because I expect to like it more and more after I do watch it. I do recommend it for you guys. It is a subtitled show. I do recommend watching it in the subtitles. It's the best way. But Shogun, man, my favorite show of the year. Very different from last year. Last year, my favorite, I think, was Gen V. But Shogun changed my life. It was one of my favorite experiences of this year. So yeah, that's my favorite show of the year. Those are my top 10 favorite shows of the year. As I said, make sure to leave your own favorite shows or favorite show if you only watch one. That's all right in the comments. And I upload 3 videos a week, usually reviews, rankings. I will upload some more reviews this week. Getting very excited for Christmas season. So make sure to like and subscribe to come back for more. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.